Welcome back to the Ceteris podcast. As always, I'm your host, Eddie Gonzalez. Of course, I'm joined by the 21st leading scorer in NBA history now. Yep. So take that, Reggie Miller, joined by KD. And we got a special guest today, the host of the Old Man in 3 podcast, my guy Tommy Alter, and JJ Redick. How you guys living?
I'm great. I'm living. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Finally got this crossover.
Yeah, long time coming.
Long time coming.
So, short backstory, when we started talking about doing this show, I sought out Tommy. It was like, hey, like, what the fuck is this about to be? And then Tommy essentially says, you got KD. You're fine. Like, it'll be cool from there.
You just throw the ball up in the air and you get the fuck out of the way.
It was almost verbatim. Like, it was probably that text in my phone. So, happy to have you guys. Been a fan of the show forever.
Kevin, I was at the game on Sunday night with my 7-year-old Knox. We were sitting second row when you got to 21st. You passed Reggie. Congratulations, bro. It was a rough game for the Nets. Knox was trying to get your attention. I gave like a 5-minute soliloquy on the Uber ride over about Kevin. I'm like, Knox, he's 7. I mean, he's getting into basketball, but he's obsessed. And I'm like, all right, so number 7 for the Nets. This is what I want you to focus on. So every time you did something, he was going nuts. It was a cool moment as a dad.
So what's it like, I guess, preparing to guard Kevin Durant for a week? Because it cannot be fun. It cannot be.
I can't remember what our specific game plan is. I don't remember us doubling you a lot in that series. And also we should clarify, like I'm not preparing to guard Kevin Durant. Matt Barnes was preparing to guard Kevin Durant. Actually, truthfully, one of my career highlights, and I mean this sincerely, on the defensive end was your first year in Golden State. And we were playing in LA. I was still with the Clippers. And you ISO'd me on the right wing in front of our bench. And you give me a little shimmy, and you went baseline, and I stripped you going up. The ball went out of bounds off you, and I was like, I fucking got to stop on KD. I got to stop on KD.
Crazy. I was fucking pissed.
You let this guy strip
The
you?
only time I get an ISO on JJ, I fucking let it go out of bounds off my leg.
Kev, what'd you think about those old Clipper teams? Because when we had Draymond on a couple months ago, and he was talking, he
did not think highly of you guys.
What did he say? He said you were front runners?
Didn't y'all beat them, though, before Steve Kerr got there?
We beat them to play y'all in 14. It was a 7-game series. And that was in the middle of the Donald Sterling thing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So that happened right after we had won Game 3, and we were still in San Fran. But that series, so we play y'all in the second round in 2014. That series was very competitive, 2-2. We're in OKC for Game 5. We're up 11.
We're playing horrible. With
a little over 4 minutes to go, and we just have an uber meltdown.
Yeah, because we were looking at the clock, and we weren't making any shots that whole game. I probably was like 6 for like 22. We couldn't make threes. It was one of those games. But we got like a steal here, fast break layup. We just scored quick, and then CP had a turnover.
It's probably the play the series is most known for is that CP turnover in the backcourt.
Well, right before that, I think that was when you hit the 3 off the inbounds.
I had hit a 3 over,
on the right wing.
Wild-ass 3 too, right?
Yeah.
Yes, but it was quick too. Yeah. And we were at the point, it was similar. Honestly, I fucking hate saying this, but it was similar to like a college team trying to run the clock out. That's how we handled those last 4 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
So all we're thinking about is like, let's run the clock out. Let's run the clock out. And they take the ball out of bounds, and Kevin hits a 3 off the inbounds over. I can't remember who hit it over, but it was
Baby. It was Big Baby and Matt Barnes. They were both trailing. I was damn near open. I'm like, damn, that's a good look right here. That cut it fast.
And then CP tries to get a 3-point shot just behind half court because Russ went to go foul him,
which was a ridiculous decision.
Yeah, all he had to do was just
dribble one more time, and he was going to foul him.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ball went out of bounds off Reggie Jackson. They gave you guys the ball anyways, even though
Reggie should have dropped that off to pass.
Kevin, can we admit now that
I don't believe it went out on Reggie, but I do think he should have passed that ball back to one of us.
Okay, all right. And then CP fouled Russ on a 3, which man. I don't know why you're fouling Russ on a 3.
Which was a crazy attempt. When he pulled up for that, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then for him to foul him, I was like, I can't believe CP made these 2 bad decisions this late. The game was in hand. I had that one.
That was the lowest And we went through some lows with the Clippers. You know, him getting hurt in the playoffs a couple times. That meltdown we had in 15 against Houston where we're up 3-1. I remember that, dude. That locker room in Game 7 in Houston after that game, I remember that. But that bus ride to the airport, that was as low as I've ever seen CP. That game just was fucking demoralizing.
But you don't remember we had y'all up 2 in Game 4, was it? We supposed to be up 3-1 coming back to OKC. We up 20 points in like the fourth quarter. 16, 17 points in the fourth quarter. Darren Collison. He had a quarter. Won the game. That plane ride back that was probably the lowest point I had with the Thunder.
Yeah.
Man, because we had the series. Like, they had beat us Game 1 at home, so we had to go on the road, and we went 2 on the road. They're like, shit, that's our series. Mm-hmm. Now it's 2-2 coming back home. They got some momentum. And then they came out hot. I mean, it was just – it just turned so fast. A series can turn so fast, and this shit, Game 5 happened.
Do you think that was your first experience with just, like, the high-low swings of the playoffs?
Yeah, because – we were expected to do big things that year. I felt like the years before, 2011, 12, 13, we wasn't expected to, like, go to the finals. You know what I'm saying? So now we at a level now where the expectation for us in the locker room and people around OKC is for us to win a championship. So for us to lose in the second round like that, being up 20, that was real ebb and flow of a series. I really felt that for the first time. And against the Clippers, it was just like I hated the fucking Clippers. You know what I'm saying? Everybody did. That was just
you guys did something
everybody
to the
did
league.
hate us.
Yes, bro.
I think honestly it was because of what Draymond said. He was right. We were front runners.
When things were going well, it was.
We were very loud about it.
It was hard to deal with.
Well.
It was hard because y'all would kick our ass. Like 2000 when y'all first got together. 2012.
I think CP went 2012. Yeah, because he was there 2 years before I got there. So he went
you
right
wasn't
after the
there in
lockout.
2012. That was Randy Foye.
Yeah. And then the next year, those were the Vinny years, and then Doc and I came the same summer
Vinny
in
years.
13. Yeah.
The Vinny years, when they first got together, I mean, they were playing so fast, and they beat us by 20 points every game in the regular season, and you heard it.
I seen Blake, I want to say his rookie year. Well, I guess, is it technically his rookie year? He missed his first year, but whatever it was. The first year he really hit the scene. I seen him in Sacramento, and it felt like a megastar was there. 'Cause everybody just wanted to see him dunk. And any time any tip, it might look like a leak out, you could just feel the energy of just the crowd getting ready.
There's a little bit of Zion there.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? In terms of how they came out. And obviously Blake developed into an incredibly skilled player, passer, shooter, all that stuff. Zion is incredibly skilled as well in terms of his handling, his passing ability. He hasn't developed a shot yet, but that anticipation, that excitement around like a single play in a game.
Yeah.
Those dunks that Blake had early in his career, they're like seared in every basketball fan's memory.
It's ridiculous. And it came to a point where even when he got into a pick and roll, you can see people start to like.
Yeah.
Because you knew CP, they might double and CP drop it off. Once he get to the launching pad, it was like people were expecting that at a certain point. Do you think Blake would have been better as a 5?
Ooh, probably. I just don't know, like, defensively, when it came down to it, if that's gonna win you games in the playoffs. And I'm not saying Blake early in his career was bad defensively. I just don't know. And the league was different back then too. I just don't know if as a 5 it would have worked. But my thing with that Clippers team was, like, had we just been a step ahead of the rest of the NBA in terms of playing small, and maybe it wouldn't have worked, like with Blake and DJ being the 4 and the 5. But if we had figured out a way to like play 3-and-D guys, and by the way, I could play a little bit of defense early in my career, bro. I'm just saying, but around CP and a Blake pick and roll with shooters, around CP and DJ pick and roll with shooters, I think we, even though we had great offenses, but I think it would have been even better in the playoffs.
It's kind of crazy. It's recent as those teams were to think of a Blake and a DeAndre playing in the same offense. We never see that today. No. And if I won't say that because there are some teams that are playing a lot bigger and sizing up now. The Cavs do it, and the Celtics do it, and guys they're doing that, and it's helping them on defense in different ways and stuff. But it would look so foreign if we went back and looked at it. You know, even the two bigs playing high-low, or it's like
Gasol and Zebo type of combo.
It's like fascinating that was that recent. I mean, we're talking 8 years ago. They're still doing it.
Yeah, and I feel like there's no going back either. Mm-hmm. I really believe that. Like I don't know if there will be a team that says, "Oh, no, we're gonna buck the trend, and we're gonna play a bunch. Like we're gonna go back to like a grit and grind. Like you need space. That is the NBA. It's all about space.
The power forward's never coming back.
No,
the traditional.
Bro, I had this tweet the other day. Some knucklehead said, if NBA teams played defense as hard as college kids, I bet you the scores would be in the 70s and 80s too. First of all, I mean, it's just math. First of all, the shot clock's longer, so there's going to be more possessions in an NBA game. And there's 8 more minutes of basketball, so fuckhead, that's not possible. But secondly, what he doesn't understand is you watch college basketball, man, I'm like, these guys have not evolved their philosophy since the 1980s or 1990s. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Same sets that I used to run, that I used to watch growing up, that Kansas used to run. I'm like, bro, do you know why it's so hard to play defense in the NBA? It's not because we can't, and it's not because we don't try. It's because there's fucking space, and the players are so good.
It's because they're guarding you.
Right. Doesn't matter what we do to him.
It's
He's
the best
still make it.
Fucking athletes. And you think somebody's just going to guard up and hold a team to 70 points that has fucking a 30-point score on? Like, come on, man. No.
Kevin, I want to go back to something you said earlier about that little run. So you guys, I think the first year you made the playoffs was 2010.
Yeah.
And then in 12, obviously, you guys made the finals, a little bit of a surprise run. Maybe not to you, but certainly the basketball world. And then you guys traded James.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind when that trade went down?
Don't get canceled. Don't get in trouble.
See, yeah, you gotta
Kevin,
realize,
this is a podcast, man. We got to be honest
point,
on podcasts.
At that point, like, I wasn't really hip to the business side of it. Like, I wasn't really locked in with the front office to like, let's have a conversation about our team going forward. So this kind of the talks hit me out of nowhere. So I didn't really know how to deal with it at that point. So it was just like, I'm just focused on doing my job. Like, whoever come in here to play, like, it's cool. Like, we had a good run. We still got good players. And, if it works for both sides, then let's just do it. You know what I'm saying? But then you see, because James came off the bench for us, and then you see how he plays as a starter. It was just like, hold up. Now, was that a good move? 4 or 5 years later, it was just like, even this first game, 37,
Yeah, 35 and 10,
12, and winning games. Is just
that was one of like the first NBA Twitter moments where it was like everybody who was league pass locked in. It's like, oh shit, they might have fucked up. Everybody felt like everybody's watching the game together.
So in the moment, it was like, all right, let's just move on and. We'll focus on who we have here.
It's like a few days before the season too, right? Where this goes in.
Yeah, exactly. It all happened quick. It was like they were negotiating his rookie extension. I think they got up to $50 million, and he wanted the 5-year, $80 million, $80 million max. Houston gave it to him pretty much on the flight. To Houston.
Great investment.
But, so are you saying that 2022 Kevin, you feel like if it had been different, if you had existed in that space then, you would have just gone to the ownership and said, "You got to pay the luxury tax. You got to keep us together."
For sure.
That was not on your radar then.
Yeah, it was just I didn't feel like I had that relationship with our GM to just walk in and have conversations like that for one. So I just had to be down with anything that they did. I mean, I didn't get the calls on, this is who we looking at in free agency. It was just like, whoever they sign is who we sign and we're going to play with, you know what I'm saying? So, I'm 23 years old. So it was like, that wasn't even in my thought process to ask or demand anything from the front office. So
when did that click though? 16? That started for you in 16 when you started getting whatever you just, I don't forget the word you said, hip to the business side or whatever.
Yeah, I want to say, right after that 13, 14, I just wanted to know who was going to be on my team. I wanted to know the guys that we were playing with. I seen the league start to change, so obviously we wanted more shooters around. I wanted more skill on the team, but I didn't have that relationship with Sam Presti in the front office. We were, it was a good work relationship, but we didn't go deep into the business. So as time went on, I just wanted to get more informed on who was going to be on my team. And, I started just digging into the business a little bit more.
You feel like that's the natural progression for like a star in the league? Or I don't know, the player empowerment era, like they say now. I feel like some guys show up now just demanding shit automatically.
I mean, you don't know much coming into the league, but just playing, so you just want to focus on your craft and getting better and just hooping. But now it's just everything's out there. The rumor mill is so easy to, it's easy to see these trade rumors and easy to be involved in this shit now. So, and these dudes, you coming in with a good relationship with your GM and your owner, so you can have these casual conversations about who's on the team.
Yeah, I would say you don't know until you know. So as a young player, you don't know till you go through it and you have those experiences. And one of the things that happens over time is when you are a superstar or you're a star player and then you're on a max deal, like if you're smart, you see how people treat you. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. I got a little juice here. I might have to take advantage of this. That's our league. That's our league. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's our league. Our league is like, historically speaking, you have to have a top 5 or a couple top 10 players to win a championship. To be a great team, you need that. And so if you are one of those guys, it's like all of a sudden you're like, there's an aha moment where, oh, shit. And I didn't get that. Let's be clear.
It would benefit a GM for you to bounce ideas off your best players. They out there playing the game, so it's not a bad thing that they partnering up with some of those decisions on the roster.
But do you think that it's very different when we're talking about you specifically, where from that point on it was very clear that any GM, owner, whatever should be listening to you? Where it can become tricky is when guys think, maybe they don't think they're you specifically, but they think they should have that relationship with organizations, and maybe they shouldn't. Like maybe they're not good enough to deserve it.
I mean, some organizations, some roles are different in organizations. Some players
are you talking about the Kings?
You might be the number one guy on your team. You might demand that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If you're the number one option on your team, you might get that. Each organization is different.
So I want to, before we get off the 2014 series, I always think about with you guys in that run. Do you feel like that was kind of your best shot at it? The Spurs, what did they do? The Spurs beat you guys in 6. And that was,
and then they beat the Heat in 5.
In 5.
Ran through the Heat.
And they were like, that was the bounce back year from them. I don't think a team's ever been closer to winning the finals than losing it. But you guys, at that moment, did you feel like it was coming together for you guys?
Yeah, looking back, and I've talked about this with CP, and I've talked about this with Doc as well. I actually think that team was our best team, and we were really good in 15 as well. That team had depth, and you mentioned Derek Collison. Losing him, like he won us so many games that season in the regular season, and he won his playoff games too. We didn't have that depth that next year, and Austin got a lot better, but he was not ready to fulfill that role when he joined the team in 15. We used the mid-level on Spencer Hawes, and it was like an awkward fit, and he really didn't play a lot that year. So the one avenue we had to get depth was to use the mid-level to get a player, and Darren went to Sacramento for the mid-level, and we brought in Spencer because Doc was convinced we needed a backup big. And this goes back to our conversation. The philosophy was different then. I mean, now if you had a chance to keep a guard who can guard multiple positions, break down a defense, and shoot 40% from 3 for the mid-level? Come on. Come on.
You're down there max for that.
Yeah.
But I think that was our best team. And I'm not even saying that we would have beat the Spurs or we would have beat the Heat. I just think that was our best chance. Mm-hmm. That was our best chance that first year.
Was 15 you lost? That's when you lost a 3-1 lead.
15 we lost to Houston.
I thought that was your chance that year.
Once the Warriors won, once they broke through and won, those last 2 years were an exercise in futility. Like we really did. And then the third year was their 73-9 year. The fourth year, Kevin went there.
And then it was just like, all right, y'all wrap this shit up in LA.
Broke the league, ruined the league.
I remember that last season in LA. I think we played Houston. And it was like one of those games where first half was fine. Second half, they got hot. We were trading twos for their threes. We ended up losing by 20. Body language got bad. And I remember reading this tweet after the game, and it was like, the Clippers are like a married couple waiting for their kids to go to college so they can finally get a divorce, you know? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, that feels kind of right. That feels kind of right.
You could see that on the court, like this weird tension. So it always cracks me up. Like, you know, CP's done your pod a few times, and to hear how tight you guys actually were. I think you did Matt as well, and the same thing. It's just talked about how tight you guys were, and it's like they didn't look tight. I mean, they tight in a different way.
Yeah, I mean,
but
look,
I mean, you can be both though.
Yeah, I mean, CP and I were always tight. But again, it goes like I talk about this all the time. CP and I talked about this on the podcast when he was on, but you know this, like. If you recognize that a teammate of yours has the same agenda that you have, and that is just to go out and win basketball games by any means, it's okay to cuss that teammment out. Yeah. I can motherfuck CP, and we can go get a glass of wine and a meal after the game, and we can talk about our kids and family and life and basketball, and it doesn't affect our relationship. He didn't have that relationship with everybody on the team, you know, and there was just, you know, this is the NBA, you know, and this is a question I have for you because I think that Clippers team, in some respects, I was looking the other day, there was one year where we had 3 All-NBA guys. We were probably a super team. Like DeAndre, max contract, and All-NBA. Blake, max contract, All-NBA. CP, max contract, All-NBA. And I think the dynamic on super teams is really difficult. And you've done it now twice.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you just about the inherent challenges that exist on playing on a super team. Not just the ego, because the ego is one thing, but roster building.
Yeah.
Figuring out who's going to have the highest usage rate. I mean, shit like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we had Golden State. You want to count Clay, like 3 guys that can create their own shots. When you got 3 guys that can do that, then you can pretty much pair them with anyone. On your team, you had 2 guys that had to be force-fed baskets. You know, so the other guys might be thrown off a rhythm sometime trying to get lobs or throw post-ups. Whereas we can create nothing out of something pretty quickly, you know. So that played a factor into it. And when it comes to egos, we all were on the same page and just really wanting to win. I know it sounds simple, but, like, that's really what it was. Like, every day is about, all right, how can we win this basketball game? Nothing else mattered. And when I got to Golden State, from the first to the last guy thought that, but, like, from the owner to, like, the ball boy, they thought about that shit too. You know what I'm saying? It's just like in June, like everything was like in June, like at the parade, like it was just always, we was always talking about that, you know, so that shit matters too, just that dialogue around the team, just that thought process of everybody. How you approaching every day has to be championship level mentality from the first to the last guy. Owner to the ball boy, everybody got to be thinking about it, and it was like that.
And could you tell that from the jump?
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
that.
when you lose like that in the finals,
yeah,
everybody came back hungry. Everybody wanted to just redeem themselves. It was just it's a rare feeling to have in the league.
Like the initial meeting, you can sense it there.
Oh yeah.
When they're there, right?
I mean,
so that alone is like
I mean, we knew how
mean business.
We knew we knew how big that summer was with losing the league, losing in the finals, and then me signing there. It was just so much noise around our team to start that season. We really locked in as a group.
Now these super teams, they do seem to flame out, like kind of infamously. Almost everyone we could think of, we can name, even your guys' teams. Do you think that tension and that pressure of just you have to win a title or you failed? You think it's that? You think it's combination?
I think more so the business gets in the way more so than anything.
Yeah.
We want to stay together as long as possible.
Yeah.
But one guy might get paid for one guy, Sean Livingston retired, or I left in free agency, you know, so stuff like that happens more so than.
I think you're right though. I think there is a cycle to it. And when you have, as I mentioned, when you have guys, the talent to win a championship, you have an obligation to go for it. And by going for it, you're sacrificing some future.
Mm-hmm.
You're trading your first round pick at the deadline nearly every fucking year to go get something.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we did that every year with the Clippers.
Yeah.
You know, we did that every year. And, you know, like I said this a bunch prior to the trade for James. I said, Philly, to me, is dumb to not do something with Ben because you have a window in the East. You have an MVP candidate in Joe. He's got an injury history. Like, you have an obligation to go for it this year. Now, I didn't know they were going to get James, obviously, but like get 2 high-level players.
Yeah.
Get a pick back, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But like you got to go for it. If you got the talent and that guy's healthy, you got to go for it.
Do you guys feel like that's the best approach? I talk to people about like LeBron. He kind of moves in cycles. It's been 4 years, 4 years. This is year 4 now. And each of the last iterations, it kind of went like this. It's kind of flamed out. But you do kind of owe it to the team, like the Rams, right? Fuck them picks.
Yeah.
We need now.
I feel like when you have a player that's reached elite status in this game where he can just control the game, that's when you should go for it.
You could go for broke.
When you got the top 5 player in the league, it's like, all right, I know I have something to lean on at the end of games. Like, let's build around this. I mean, if you got, you see potential in that, then you don't want to, waste all your assets early on on trying to compete for a championship when your best player is still developing. But once he gets to that elite status, then that's when you should go for it.
This is also to me a very complicated issue that you can't necessarily point to one thing, because whether it's player movement, teams not being loyal, everybody's so hungry for a championship. Mm-hmm. The discourse around what is a successful season and an unsuccessful season for nearly every team now is about a championship, or are we bottoming out to build for a championship? Mm-hmm. And so the life cycle of teams is inherently going to be shorter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The other part, I'll say this too, is, historically, like, we haven't seen a guy like LeBron play at this level,
and move around.
And move around, but also play at this level for this long.
Yeah.
So of course there's going to be a life cycle to every team he's on, and he's not going to be in one place. There's no John Stockton, Karl Malone duo that exists anymore. Mm-hmm. There's no loyalty in this thing. Like, I read something today when I was doing my notes, and it's like Dre talking about, Kevin, go do what's happy. Andre Iguodala. Yeah, Kevin, go do what's happy. Do what's for you. And like, that is the mindset of players now, because we recognize what the fuck teams are going to do to us.
Yes.
There's no loyalty.
Yes.
There's a real turning point. I mean, everybody points back to LeBron's decision, but I think even back to what the Celtics did, and KG kind of had to go through that and say, you know what, I got to just go for me. And there's other times in history, obviously, but there's definitely been a change in the guard in that sense. And it is kind of crazy. I was curious about how players feel, and I think it does seem like a lot of you guys sit back and go, hey, you got to do what's best for you. I mean, you got on the podium with Kyrie, did the same with the trade with James, and said the same thing. Hey, he has to go be happy, and we're cool with that. And I think it's not lip service. It's genuine.
I mean, you got to put yourself in the best situation you feel can maximize what you're doing, And I think everybody understands that now.
Do you ever have younger guys hit you up asking for advice, trying to figure this out, because you've now been in this situation a lot?
Yeah, for sure. More so about navigating through, just life as a pro, but knowing that they got that decision that's coming up, what they should be looking for as it's coming up. What was I looking for around that time? Being with an organization, I was with an expansion team basically. So I helped build the foundation of that. So for me to leave that, that was interesting to a lot of young players. Since they, drafted by an organization, expect to stay there. So yeah, they hit me up asking about what my thought process was throughout that situation and how I approach games, stuff like that. So it's good to have, and I think that's better in our league now, that we got this open dialogue amongst each other, and we bounce ideas off of each other as pros, and I'm sure that helps.
Kevin, what was that first year like for you? Getting drafted by Seattle, I think it was like 2 days before the first game, it basically comes out that they're going to try to relocate the team.
Yeah.
Like, playing that season in Seattle, knowing there's a good chance you'd never play in Seattle again, not even knowing where you would play the next season, but you're still with the same franchise. That's got to be super fucking surreal.
Wild. See, they told us that we'll be there for at least 3 to 4 years. So I settled in as if, they'll make – yeah, I bought a house. And I told my mom, I'm like,
city too. You would have had such a good time.
yo, me and Jeff I'm like, Jeff, I think I'm gonna buy a house. He's like, nah, I'm gonna just wait. I'm gonna buy a condo downtown. I was like, you know what? That's actually a better idea. My mom's are so like, yo, we should just buy a house. I'm like, nah, I think we might. I don't know. So, but then the owner said we'd be here for 3 or 4 years. So I settled in a little bit. And towards the end of the year, we just kept hearing like, hold up, I think they making the change, sooner than we thought. And I remember we were in San Antonio, probably a week left in the season. Clay Bennett came out and like gave us 3 options of like cities that they were looking at, like San Jose, I think it was San Diego, and then OKC. And we was just like, all right, you're from OKC. Like, we know what this is now. Like, so
we know what this is.
Around April is when I was like, all right, I'm moving in to OKC.
It's gotta be a while. Like that 3 years in the row, right? You moved to Texas, then you moved to Seattle.
Yeah.
Okay, like it could not be much different dynamics in which you.
I prepared to stay in Seattle for 4 to 5 years, and then I figured we'd move, but I didn't know it would be that soon.
I want to talk about your guys' routines. I know this is something you've talked about a lot on your show, just your shooting routine when you were playing and how meticulous it has to be, and you're like a scientist with shooting. I've been watching him do his routine for a while now, and it's like I wonder like when that stuff develops. And when you're 15, you're just shooting, right? Like but at some point you're a pro, and you start putting together this workout that becomes your bread and butter.
I used to love watching Kevin's pregame routine.
I do too.
All that one leg pirouette spin. It's the Dirk workout, right?
Yeah, that's where I stole it from.
Yeah. Honestly, I actually did have a routine when I was a kid.
Really?
And I think for me, the routine, the work, like always trying to get better at something, always trying to master something that you could never master. That's kind of what I loved about basketball. So I always had a routine, and then I got to college. And I figured I want to be a frat kid for a couple years. So didn't have much of a routine there. And then my junior year, like summer before my junior year, they gave me a spreadsheet. I still have the spreadsheet. And it was day by day, hour by hour, what I was doing. And I lost a bunch of weight. I got in incredible shape. I won ACC Player of the Year. I won the Rep Award for National Player of the Year. And I'm like, oh, shit, like this is the rest of my life. And for the rest of my career, it was like that. And I mean, our production company is named 342 because every Sunday in the offseason, I go make 342 shots exactly. So, like, I was very OCD about the routine.
Why that number?
It's easy. You'll get this. There's 7 spots on the floor. I make 20 spot 2s, shoot 5 free throws, 20 spot 3s, shoot 5 free throws, 3 1 dribbles going right, shoot 5 free throws, 3 1 dribbles going left, shoot 5 free throws. That's 342 shots.
That's 7 spots. That's
How long would it take you to do that, Tommy?
On a good day, it'd be about 35 minutes.
I was gonna say
For you?
Yeah.
That's a great
With
workout.
one rebounder.
That sounds like a great workout.
Same guy rebounding and passing. Yeah.
And that was you said how often did you do that?
Every Sunday in the off season.
Every Sunday.
And then during the season, like not as much late in my career, just because I had to preserve energy. But like there was times during the season I'd go to I do half that.
After practice.
After practice, I had a routine. After shoot around, I had a routine. After shoot around routine, I had a routine. Like I had a routine on top of routines on top of routines. My game days were like to the minute.
He loves this shit.
Yeah,
he loves routines.
I'm just interested. How long did you work out after practice?
After practice?
Yeah,
not long. 20 minutes.
And just spot shots.
You know what it was? No,
movement.
Yeah. Especially my first 13 years.
Yeah,
a lot of like all the DHO stuff, pin down stuff. Sprinting in transition for transition threes. I worked on all that after practice.
But this was a big thing. I'm curious if this affected you at all. We talked about this all the time during COVID.
This was a question I had for you.
Everything else aside, all the other issues with COVID and like that, it's like everyone's routine is completely fucked. And so all of these different things you have, all of a sudden it gets thrown out the window, and you're used to doing a certain thing that's worked for you for however many years, and all of a sudden it's gone. Some guys can handle it better than others.
Did you feel like your routine? Yeah. Did you feel like your routine last year got thrown off at all, especially coming back from a major injury? No.
Nah. I mean, what do you mean routine? Like, what do you mean? Like what I do on the court?
Yeah.
Nah. Why would it change?
But did you have because you had stuff like the pregame meal, like
Oh yeah,
I mean,
I'm
his
talking
shit would be
about
like,
just like
on my back. I still got my work in. I'm
Yeah.
talking about my
no.
day got
Just the day.
disrupted so
he's
many
like
fucking
2:15,
times.
I'm eating lunch, and if I don't eat lunch at 2:15,
and it's like I get to then you had to like you couldn't.
See, I didn't have a routine like that. It was just when I got on the court. It's just I just wing it outside of that.
But the arena, would you?
That's
when,
lucky.
when
Some
you
days
clock
I
in,
made naps.
that's
Some
an
days I
advantage,
made.
yeah.
Oh no.
But
Some
when
days
you
I
clock
made-
in, it's
But
but you
once
it's
I-
all day. It's the whole
Game days, it's
would
like as
freak
soon as I wake up,
would
the routine
He would
starts.
freak out about
The
it.
routine starts all the way to the post game, 12 minutes and 25
See,
seconds
nah.
in the cold tub.
I was
would-
actually-
I would do like I would time it like 12 minutes and 25 seconds because I'm such a sicko that they were like, yeah, do it for 12 minutes. So I'm like, okay, I'll do it for 12 minutes. But then sometimes I'd get in and I would be like, oh man, I started my timer a few seconds too early. I'm cheating myself. So just to be safe, I'm gonna do 12 minutes and 25 seconds.
Oh, so you're a sicko.
You're a
This is
real
your.
sicko. That's why you're a sniper like that.
Yeah.
But I'm about to
So
say,
can
like, I
tell.
feel like that's probably the same part of your brain is just being obsessive with your shooting and being a great shooter. Which you are.
I think to be a great
Anything.
shooter, any skill, to be great at any skill that requires hand-eye coordination, like you have to be. There's a level of obsession.
Yeah. I feel like when I just walk into any gym and I pick up any basketball and I just flick it at the rim, I could just. It's not even a workout. I feel like that's adding to me perfecting the skill of shooting.
Even if
all
it's just
time.
like at an
And in
AU
my
game and you're
flip-flops,
and
I'm
you're just it's part of the
it's part of the whole
part of the
thing.
work, part of the build.
Yeah, because it's all touch at the end of the day.
Do
It's
you
just muscle memory?
do you feel like you've mastered basketball? I'm serious.
I have a follow up.
You're the person to
I have a
ask.
follow up to this question, but yeah, get to this.